what I want to do today was to bring perspective. I know you guys are inundated with maps and different things like that. I want to make sure that you guys had the perspective of the black community, and not only the black community, but the community as a whole, and that we could begin to have a dialogue about not only what to do right now, but looking at this organization. You guys are very unique, and you guys have an opportunity to really set precedents nationally with what the outcome of what this body that has been formed does. So I want to make sure that was highlighted today. I didn't want you guys to miss this opportunity, because I know these lines and stuff just drive you crazy. So I want to ensure that, we have a plain talk and we begin to talk frank about the future of California and the future of us as a people, whether you're black, white, or indifferent. So that is the first part of it. Okay. All right. So basically the mission statement, I'm just going to sum it up in a nutshell. It's basically broke down into 4 different parts. And what we want to do is get to the nitty gritty of the whole situation. The mainstay of the black political organizations is based on, first thing is political education. We want to be able to educate not only African Americans, but everyone politically on what's going on in the atmosphere of African Americans. In regards to the maps, we totally agree with the first presentation that was given today by the African American collaboration. We all agree, but we want to make sure that we re-emphasize on certain things. We don't want to beat over the same drum. We want to make sure that you guys understand clearly there are some key things that we really need to look at that goes beyond drawing the lines. And so I hope that we begin to go into that. So let's go to the next slide. All right. The first thing we want to look at today is we want to address how do we draw the lines? And you guys have been looking at that all day. Counting the people in prison at home. That I really want to make sure that you guys get that. And then the 3 bears approach. And I'll get to that. That's something real cute that I think that you guys would like, that you could just kind of think about while you're drawing the lines. Okay. The first one is the Council of Black Political Organizations. We look at basically the African American community wants to stay together. They really don't want to move because of the years, and you went over this morning, in regards to all the work that has been done to actually keep them together. So they don't want to lose any political seats because it hinders the effects of the African American community. So we don't want to take two step forwards and then take 1 step back because we lost 1 or 2 seats. So we really hope that you guys are able to keep us together as much as possible and keep the seats as much as we have. Influence is basically all we have in the African American community. In regards to businesses and different things like this, we're struggling mightily to get economic stability, job stability, and all these things. So we're making sure that we're talking to the redistricting and saying, you guys take that into consideration when you draw the lines to make sure that you're clearly understanding what's going on when you redraw the lines and understand that these businesses, we could lose some businesses, we can lose different things that really would help us grow economically as well as politically. And, our resources can be limited. We must talk about municipalities. Not only are we losing political seats, but we lose municipalities. That means when we start losing fire departments and different things that are key and vital to keep the African American community growing. We lost like a fire truck. And even though that's insignificant, but that's a ladder that we have to wait another 5 minutes that could have saved somebody's lives. So when you guys are doing that, make sure you're looking at taking all these things into consideration and not just drawing lines, because a lot of people just draw lines and they don't understand the intricacies of our community and how necessary it is for us to keep all the power that we have. Okay, the next one, I really want to, get this home, and I brought this up because the 21st century version of what's happening with the prisons is the same thing that happened in the New Jersey Compromise in 1718. So basically what's happening is that they're counting prisoners in districts and giving them extremely a lot of voting power. So basically what they did was they went from 3/5 of a man to 1 whole man. And I think that really doesn't ring clear. And I want to make sure that I present this to you so that you understand this rings clear. It's no longer 3/5 of a man that's in prison like it was in slave days. Now it's a whole person that is counted. So that gives whatever county that is that's holding the prisoners, that gives them even more power. And it takes away from us at home. And you understand that with the African American community, we're always the top of what's not good and at the bottom of what's all good. And so I want to make sure that that's clear when you guys are redrawing the lines, that you really, I know you guys cannot tell them what to do, but this body has a lot of influence and it has a lot of power, and you guys can go a long way even after this is done. So I'm beginning to draw the future. That I see the future when I look at California. This has one of the biggest prison systems, and we really need to begin to look at this as the fight to ensure that we get the services that are needed when they return home, as well as when they leave, to heal the community. So the political system can provide that. The redistricting, when you draw the lines, can provide that. It can give us all the services. You cannot tell them, but you can certainly write it so people like me that are community activists can follow up and lean on you in the future to help us to ensure that we keep what we need to keep our communities alive. And this just doesn't go for black communities. Every community that's affected by the prison industrial complex system ends up getting your vote, ends up getting your municipality. So we must make sure that that reigns clear when you guys are making these decisions. If you look, once again, I want to take the power away. Delaware, Maryland, and New York, they've already made adjustments and been making changes since the 2010 census. So they're making changes. So why not California? So we need to ensure that we're looking at all of that. And I know you want you would love to see a map right now, but I'm hoping that you guys are really beginning to understand how much power you guys really have. And I know you guys understand that, but I think everyone throw maps in your face and think that you guys are supposed to draw lines, but you guys are really building a future for our children's children, for us to not be looking at so much as nesting, but begin to look at besting. And I hope that we begin to look at that. So the next one is, I went to the conclusion. Hold on, I skipped. Because my 3 bears. Oh, yeah, this is my favorite one right here. The 3 bears approach. Okay. Basically, this is a long-term solution. And I know you guys are drawing lines and different things like this, but I want you guys to begin to look at this. You guys can write appendices, and you guys can say, look, we would like to see communities begin to work together. Communities that have a lot begin to work with communities that don't have that much, and having communities in the middle. And while you're redrawing these lines, you can look at these communities that have that and begin to make suggestions for the next 10-year census. So we could begin to look at working together collectively. And I use an example of saying Beverly Hills would be a gold. Rosemead would be a green. And if you look at it, Beverly Hills is basically primarily white, very rich. Rosemead is Asian, kind of quasi. But they're well-to-do. And then you look at Watts, who's orange, who needs the services. If you guys can begin to draw these certain lines, it doesn't have to say you have to do this, but you put the onus on the politician to begin to work together to resolve these problems. And what you'll see is that you'll see slowly things start to change because everyone is working together to bring things up. So while you're drawing these lines, you're also making suggestions to future politicians to be able to do these things and make these changes. So it's more than just redrawing lines. It's also creating ideas. And that's part of what some of what you guys are brought together to do. So one of your mandates is to ensure that you create guidelines. So ensuring that you guys also create guidelines for our future. Go to the end. Now my conclusion. All right. Just want to thank you guys for your efforts and that you guys are truly pioneers. And that I applaud you because you guys are going to go back and you guys are going to deliberate. And a lot of people are not going to like you. And so I just want to say I'm happy not to be in your shoes. And I look forward to working with you guys in the future and not just saying I don't see you anymore. I plan to work with you in all of California because this is a problem that we really need to look at, the disparity. And when you look at these testimonies, you hear a lot of color, but you don't hear how can we work together? What is the solution? You guys have the opportunity to create a solution. So I want to thank you in advance for you presenting this. And I want to make sure that I was here to just not throw you another map, but throw you a solution. So I hope that I was able to do that, and that's it. I'm ready for questions.
Commissioner Anchetta.
Hi, I'm over here.
Oh, okay.
So with respect to the prison population, there's been a bill recently introduced in the Assembly Bill 420. Someone, Mike Davis, just introduced that. Do you have a position on that particular bill? Because it does address Not for this round. Obviously, we're just not going to be able to do anything this round. But for the next set of lines drawn post 2020, that would put that into effect. Then, do you have a formal position on?
No, because I haven't read the bill, and I've heard about the bill, but once again, that bill didn't make it to be discussed. So a lot of times we only deal with things that's going to make it, and especially when you're dealing with politics, and that's one of the things why we don't want to lose. Mike Davis and different people like that really are the ones that take these bills, and we need to ensure that we keep those people on our team. And when you redistrict, we lose those seats. And those people that really fight for not only African Americans, but fight for just causes. And I just wanted to make sure that that is articulated. But it's a lot of things going on with the prison industrial complex, and we have to ensure that that is being firmly discussed.
Commissioner Ontai.
Andre, did you hand it up? Go ahead. Could you tell me something about your organization?
Yes, the Council of Black Political Organizations. We started in November, and basically it started from a general discussion of what was going on in the Los Angeles committee. We are out of Southern California, out of Los Angeles, and there is a lot of things that go on in Southern California in regards to black politics. And oftentimes it's a name game politic, and it's really no action. So the Council of Black Political Organization got together to ask the questions to the elected black officials. And what happened was we began to grow and expand from that, from our mission. And if you go back to the mission statement, that's basically, go back. We had 4 criteria to go with the mission statement. Okay, to go along with the mission statement. So basically we want to ensure, and a lot of these are big words because we had Dr. Horn wrote it for us, who is a professor here. And I was trying to tell him to use little words, but he didn't listen to me. So, so basically, it's for us to come together and to begin to use our grassroots organizers to really put pressure on our elected officials to begin to do the right thing. But not only our elected officials, but businesses, organizations like yourselves, and for us to establish as African Americans who we are within the context of the 21st century. I think that is critical because a lot of times a lot of us are behind the times as far as African Americans, and we're extremely disenfranchised. So we have people that are extremely intelligent, like a Dr. Horn, who understands the political game, and then we have someone that lives in the projects that are being gerrymandered, and which you will see in the census tract 10 years from now, that Riverside, Hermosa County, not Hermosa County, but Hemet, all these other ones are going to have a lot of African Americans because they've been displaced from central Los Angeles. And that's another problem that we haven't even begun to address that will affect the 2020 census.
Thank you, sir. Can I have your name again?
It's Lumumba, Jimmy Lumumba Lewis.
Very brief disclosure. I do know Mr. Jimmy Lumumba Lewis, and I'm familiar with Carpo. I just want to just reiterate: have you worked in concert with the African American Redistricting Coalition? I heard you say that earlier. So that the maps they presented earlier, you had a part of that brainstorming session to develop those maps.
Absolutely. We all worked together in concert, and that's why you didn't see me reintroduce the maps. I want to ensure that we begin to have the conversation beyond the drawing the lines, that we begin to have the conversation about what goes on in those lines. Because a lot of people just drawing all these lines, but they're not telling you. We had one presentation prior to me that gave an excellent visual of what's going on outside of the people that don't represent. The prison population are people that don't represent, because when they come home, they can't vote. So they're just as disenfranchised as the people that are undocumented. And so that needs to be made clear, and we need monies to be able to get them back into, to give them, to come back home and give them something to look forward to and turn down the recidivism rate, because that's something that we have like a 70%, 80% recidivism rate, which is ridiculous in the African-American community. So we're losing men that are fathers because they'll gum and they'll become fathers and they're back in the prison system. And then those babies are fatherless. And so we have to begin to really look at what's going on in the lines.
Any other questions? Let me just point out that the issue you raised about prisoners is really an important one to address. For example, if we really wanted to do that this time, we possibly could have if there was a good list of where those prisoners actually had lived and where they would be going back to. See, and I know that we know that list is not consistent across the prison system. So a piece of legislation that would be really helpful is to have somebody make sure that that list exists so that when you come up to 2020, you're going to be able to do that.
Actually, that list does exist. And I can actually get you that list. They're actually, and it's SAGE, and they actually have a list of how the prisons are populated. They have it in every state from New York, New Jersey, and Los Angeles. They have exactly the blocks where they are. So I can get you that information where you guys can actually look at that. Now, in regards, once again, to the legislation, I agree with you. There's not adequate legislation to support that. But once again, you guys can write guidelines to say how it should look, where it should go. And that's where I'm coming at you. The guidelines is what you guys can write and saying, don't just look at the line, redrawing the lines. Look at putting in guidelines for the next board members because, to be honest, this is going to make or break. If you guys break, they're going to say civilians can't do this job, and they're going to turn it back over to the people, and we're right back to square one. So I really want to, applaud you guys for your efforts that you've been doing. You guys have been doing an excellent job, and I just want to ensure that you guys finish strong. And I know that you're going to come against a lot of opposition, especially from public officials, because they want this baby back. They want it back. They don't like this, that civilians are making decisions that will threaten their seats, that will make them have to go to work. They don't want to go to work. They want to gerrymander and sit and do the job that they're doing and leave us out in the ranks. So you guys are finally coming to save California. And that's how I look at you when I look at this. So I'm very excited to see civilians doing this thing and not a bunch of politicians getting paid.
All right. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is the California League of Conservation Voters and Education Fund. Are they here? Excuse me? I can't hear you. Now we're not having questions, just a group presentation. Oh, okay. They were scheduled later. Okay, well, why don't we take a little break as I endear myself to the commission.